Another unbeaten week for West Ham United. A comprehensive, resounding victory away at Bakatopola in the Europa League to go top of our group, heading into our very last fixture against Freiburg next week. And then avoiding defeat at Roy Hodgson's free scoring Crystal Palace at home to ensure that we are still in the top half of the Premier League in 9th position. All hunky-dory, surely, at West Ham United, or perhaps not. The mood, it still appears to be a bit bitter and a bit sour. I'm Will Pugh. I'm joined by James Jones as ever. We've got a really interesting chat coming up later on with Dean Scoggins for the Tottenham opposition view ahead of Thursday's game, in which we discuss the difference in feeling between our two clubs, even though only 4 points, I believe, separate us in the Premier League. Might even be 5, actually, to be honest. I think it could have been.
I think it's 6.
Is it 6? It could have been 3, couldn't it, if we'd have won and they'd have lost at City?
Something like that.
So, yeah 6 points. You know what? I mean, this sort of nauseous up my introduction somewhat. The chat with Dean is still interesting, Jonesy. The point I was making was that if we'd have beaten Palace, which at one stage we were on course to do, and Tottenham have lost at Manchester City, which by every single law of football and averages and science they should have done, we would have been just 3 points behind them. But a matter of fine margins and an annoying mistake from Dinos Mavropanos and just a hatful of luck for Spurs means we're going to go into that game on Thursday 6 points behind them, as Jonesy has pointed out to me there. But James, I've spent another 7 days trying in vain to whip up some sense of positivity among any West Ham fans I come across. Some of them are on board with me and saying, it's not quite as bad as people may think, and others are in the camp of the sort of vocal minority on Twitter, for whom anything other than a 6-0 win every week, a performance like 1970s Brazil, is just not quite good enough for them. How are you feeling, James, about the whole thing? The win at Bakatopola needed a last-minute winner, but we are top of the group, means we just need a draw at against Freiburg, at home, to avoid the dreaded Champions League dropouts, and we skip the last 32 in the Europa League altogether. And then, the draw against Palace, annoying, it's fair to say. But again, if I'm putting my newfound silver lining on it, not as much of a disaster as a defeat a la the one against Everton.
No, I think the reason why there's still a lot of doubt, or a little bit of unrest amongst the fan base, if that's the right way of putting it.
I'd say there's some unrest, yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason why is because it's not pretty. We've ground out a win in Serbia. A mistake has led us to drawing at home to Palace in a game where we'd taken an early lead and really should have looked to build on that, and we didn't really. We went 1-0 up, and in pretty typical fashion, kind of almost settled for the 1-0 win very, very early, and it kind of just felt like Palace not even threatening. It looked like we were going to do it, but I think the fans are getting a little bit frustrated that kind of want to see a little bit more out of the team. You go 1-0 up early at home against Crystal Palace. Let's go for 2. Let's go for 3. They're not threatening us. The only dangerous player on their team was Michael Olise, and he really didn't get a great deal of luck out of Emerson.
No, because Emerson's really good, yeah.
But still looked pretty dangerous. He still looked dangerous.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just thought Palace aren't really giving us offering anything up front. We should be going, right, let's just put this game to bed early. Let's go 2-0 up before half time, maybe nick a third in the second half, because we're good enough to do that. I thought Kudos played really well. Was our most dangerous player, and obviously got his goal, and it just felt like we got the goal early and kind of just went, oh well, that'll do. And over in Serbia, it kind of felt like we were just going through the motions a little bit, and really lacked a little bit of conviction, lacked a little bit of intent to really go and win football matches. And we've not really seen that. Yes, okay, we've won in Serbia, and should have beaten Palace, but a mistake has cost us all 3 points at home against a team that, let's have it right, we should have beaten on the day. So that's why the fans are a little bit like, well, where are we going here? What are we doing? Like, and that's why I've seen a lot of fans questioning Moyes again, going, well,
of course, yeah,
and I think, yeah, there is a cause for concern in that, why aren't the players going for a second or a third after going 1-0 up early doors? Why are the brakes very visibly being put on? Is it instruction? Is it just mentality? Like, it's difficult to really put your finger on it. But that's the concern for me. Still relatively positive about the rest of the season. Like, I don't have got anything to worry about per se, but I think just a few things beginning to seep through. It's like, well, that's that. Yeah, okay, we didn't lose, but it wasn't great, was it? It wasn't great. And that's not where we want to be. We want to be, I'm not saying we're all going to be like really, really excited about the future like Spurs fans are about just because they got a really nice manager. Like, the fact is that, yeah, okay, I'm positive about the rest of the season, but there are concerns there that like it could fall apart and get pretty ugly quite quickly because of the way we're playing at the moment. I think we're unbeaten in 5, but in all 5 of those games, we haven't been convincing. Not once, not even against Forest, not against Burnley, not even against Olympiacos. We haven't been convincing. And that's the concern, is that we're not as convincing as we were 2 seasons ago when we were flying.
No, and listen, Jonesy, right? I've been driven to facetiousness somewhat across the last month, and in some of my on this podcast a little bit. Obviously, there's an element of playing up to it a bit, but and then beyond that, we're not huge sort of. Well, you are probably slightly more so than me, but I'm not a huge like social media engager, really. I don't post much. I post the odd thing off of our podcast account every now and then, and I'll reply to the odd tweet every now and then. I put a tweet out the other day, and a couple of West Ham fans replied, and I replied like, I went back once or twice, and then I just, and there was a genuine like debate that I had there. Wasn't anyone abusing me or anything like that, but I just end up like, I'm just busy. Like, a lot of the time, I don't really sort of spend too much time like interacting, if you like, and certainly getting into arguments or whatever on Twitter or on social media. But so I don't want to just become like, we've seen these polarizing debates before, haven't we, about managers. I particularly remember it most vociferously under Sam Allardyce, where there seemed to be like a split down the middle. And I was definitely on the get Allardyce out campaign. Not like once he got us back up, just after that, in the Premier League, it was just the dark ages, I felt. And I sense that other West Ham supporters are now feeling similar to how I did under Allardyce, but I just don't understand it, because the football's nowhere near as bad. David Moyes plays a more conservative brand of football if you look at the scale, right? If you look at, on one end, you've got, I don't know, Ange Postecoglou or Pep Guardiola. Not that Pep Guardiola, though he's always had like invisibly good defenses. But if you've got Ange Postecoglou one end and a Tony Pulis, Sam Allardyce on the other end, right? Like David Moyes is like Pulis of centre, to use a political analogy. He's slightly on the more conservative side. That's fair, but it isn't route one long ball football. I still get excited when West Ham are in possession of the ball, whether it's Lucas Paqueta or Jared Bowen or now Mohamed Kudus, even James Ward-Prowse. Like, we've got some football players who can do some beautiful things with the ball, rather than watching Papa Bouba Diop like lumber around in there, who I weirdly liked. I remember having an argument with Tony Cottee about Papa Bouba Diop. But, you know, rather than up to big John Carew up front, or, you know, with Kevin Nolan like springing around off waiting for a flick on or a corner. It's not that bad. And the main huge difference, we're not plying, like, serving up this stuff at 13th in the Premier League and that's it, and crashing out the FA Cup and the League Cup in the early rounds, and then all we've got to look forward to is a season is the hope we might get a result against Tottenham. That was all the West Ham supporting existence was for so many years. What we're getting now is a slightly more conservative brand of football, I will grant you. But it's still producing us our third campaign in a row in Europe for the first time in our history. It's produced us a European semi-final in UEFA's second tier competition, which is about as good as West Ham can hope for. Let's have it right. We're through to the League Cup after a really convincing win against Arsenal, and we're still 9th in the league. We're not 14th or 15th like we were under Allardyce. We had a blip last season in the Prem, but
we won a trophy, don't forget.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we've considerably improved. So it is slightly more negative. It's not negative football. It's more conservative football, but it's having results. It is producing results for a club the size of West Ham's. But what I started this saying, Jonesy, is I don't want to just be facetious all the time where all I do is sneer and go, oh, look, we're 9th in the table. What more do you want? There is a massive element of that to me. But what I will acknowledge with Moyes is that when you do play the slightly more conservative brand of football, that when it goes not perfectly, when it goes really bad, then it goes really bad, right? And then people are like completely sod this. Like, not only are we rubbish, we're rubbish, and we're not even like losing 4-2. We're losing like 3-0 and we're pants. So there is that risk. But at the moment and recently, it's not been going terribly wrong. It's just been going a little bit wrong, which means that lots of the games, as has been the experience for the whole of November, right? Those games you mentioned there, if you look back at our last 5 games, we've had Palace 1-0, back to Polar away 1-0, Burnley 2-1 away 1-0, worst team in the league, needed last minute winners, 3-2 at home to Nottingham Forest, entertaining game, but you know, didn't have to be that close. And again, not a sustainable way to win football matches. Eked past Olympiacos 1-0, lost 3-2 away at Brentford, kicked off the month with the 3-1 win at home to Arsenal. All that's happening is it's not clicking properly nicely, but it's still producing results. If we just say we go out in January and buy someone, not necessarily saying that we will, which is annoying, but if we do that, we are sort of building ourselves a decent foundation to still have an excellent season. Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely. The start that we had, which is what our best start of a season, I think it's our best ever start to a Premier League season, and our best start to any season in like 40 years or something crazy like that.
Given everyone thought he was going to be out of the job by
I think that set us up to where we are now, where, you know, obviously had that not happened, we might be in a little bit of trouble. But I think you're right. I don't think it's not panic stations. This is tragic, because like we're 5 games unbeaten, and that shouldn't be sniffed at in all competitions. But I think there is a level of expectation now at the club, which David Moyes has developed and built due to the success he's had. I'm not saying he's a victim of his own success, but the success in those first 2 years when he came back, and then winning the Conference League last year, buying the quality players like Paqueta, like Kudus, developing the likes of Bowen into an international footballer, having players like that in a team and then us not being able to, or only just beating Burnley away, only just beating Forest at home, needing last-minute winners in both, making mistakes that lead to us not beating Palace at home.
Yeah.
Needing an 89th minute winner in Serbia to beat Bakatopolia, who, quite frankly, no one had heard of until the draw was made in September. Like, there's an element of frustration built off the fact that there is also a higher element of expectation that we should be doing better with this squad of players. And we should probably be playing a better style of football, given the players that we've got in that squad. And I think that's where the fans are like, look, is this all we've got to offer here? Like, is this all we've got to offer now? We've bought all these really, really exciting attacking players, and we've got a really good squad of footballers.
Attacking midfielders.
Yeah. But, there's good squad of footballers there. Half that squad got us into Europe 3 years ago and have kept us in Europe for 3 years. So it's not like we've bought rubbish over the last 3 years. We've bought very well over the last 3 years. But it seems to have gone backwards, particularly in the Premier League, in terms of, finished 6th, 7th, 14th. Okay, now we're only 9th. Difficult to say this season, but we have had a good start to the season. And I think a lot of fans are like, well, we expect more given what we've been served up over the last 3 years. But we don't seem to be getting more. And I understand that to an extent. But at the same time, like you said, we're still in with a chance of having a really good Premier League season. We've won. Hopefully we'll win a European group for the 3rd year running. Having been in Europe for the 3rd year running for the first time in the club's entire history. We're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Yes, okay, it's away at Liverpool, but we're there.
By beating Arsenal. Like, we didn't beat Oxford
Arsenal.
United or whatever.
Yeah. Champions-elect Arsenal. So I don't think it's, oh my God, like this is terrible. Like how have we ended up here? It's more of a, we should really be doing better than this. We should be doing better than this. And it goes back to what I said right at the beginning, is that we're not convincing enough. This is almost like we go 1-0 up in games and it's like, that'll do.
No, but right,
and that then leaves you susceptible to making mistakes and drawing games 1-1. It leaves you susceptible to conceding goals from set pieces and then only having to settle for a draw, or like at Brentford where we went Brent 2-1 up, and then 2 badly defended set pieces and suddenly we're 3-2 down. And that's because Antonio made a stupid decision which would have put us 3-1 up in front of goal.
Well, yeah.
Probably should have left it to Ben Rama, but it's things like that. The fans are like, look, we should be out of sight even before Mavropanos has made a mistake like that. We should be out of sight, and we're not. We're allowing teams back into games, which is costing us, and it's adding to the pressure of the squad, adding to the pressure on David Moyes' shoulders.
It's just coming that's just coming from fans, mate.
It's coming from fans. But don't forget, I mean, I don't agree that the level of unrest amongst the fan base is probably, I don't think it warrants where it is at the moment, the situation.
Definitely not, mate.
I can understand where fans are coming from, going, well, is this all we're good for now? Like,
but what do you mean? I just don't understand all we're good for. That tone of voice just comes, not just from you, but generally comes as if like we're like flailing around in the bottom of the league. Like,
we're not.
League in no other competitions.
What I mean is that the fact is that I think we were lucky to get away with it at Burnley. We were lucky to get away with it in Serbia. We were lucky. Well, probably.
How many times can you be lucky? Like, it's also.
Well, this is what I mean, though. This is what I mean. How many times can you be lucky? So soon that lot's going to run out if the team doesn't start actually playing.
But
better.
why is it luck?
Didn't play well in Serbia. Didn't play well against Burnley. Probably didn't play well for most of the game against Forest. Had to rely on 3 last-minute winners from one player. The one player,
3 goals still. It's not
one
just
player,
like fall out the sky.
One player who all the fans wanted out last year. He was the scapegoat, and now he's been relied upon to score last-minute winners against Forest, Burnley, and Bakatopola. That's why fans are like, "What on earth is going on? Why are we having leave it late against. If those three last minute goals had come against Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, fans would be like, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. But it's because it's coming against three teams like that, the fans are like, hang on, what's going on here?
No, but that's
so I get it. I get it, but I don't agree with it. Oh, it's a disaster, because we are still with a shout of having a good season in the Premier League. We're through to the knockout stage of Europe, quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Got a decent draw in the third round of the FA Cup as well. So
yeah,
like I'm positive about where this season can go, but I think it still rests on a change in an improvement in performances, because we can't rely on last minute winners all the time. And I think that's where the fans are like, well, hang on, but yeah, okay, I'm beaten in 5, but at least 3 of those games we probably shouldn't have won.
No, but you can't just. I just, that's such a bleak way of looking at it. Because right, and this is what's really interesting, right? We'll chat to Dean Scoggins later on, deputy head of sport at the Sun newspaper, massive Tottenham fan, and it's a really interesting conversation about the difference in like PR basically, and like fan feeling, and I think that's the point. Like if Arsenal at the moment score a last minute winner at home to like Nottingham Forest, or Tottenham get a last minute equaliser or whatever, or Tottenham at the moment, you can not win a game for 4, you can lose 3 on the spin, but everyone's clapping and the manager's an absolute hero. But if Arsenal or Tottenham or Man United score a last minute winner like United did at Fulham a few weeks ago, it's very much like, that just shows the heart of the team. They keep on going, and they've, the fitness work they did over the summer just means they've got that little bit extra at the end of their passion and desire doesn't finish for 90 minutes. And if they if they manage to, they're still going at the end of the game. It shows how much they want it for the club, and they're keeping going to the end, and they're managing to get these goals late on. Like Man City, people go on as if Man City like walk every game they play in. Like, how many times have we played any of those big teams? Liverpool losing at home to Fulham the other day, and they need a load of worldies, and because of the fan like narrative that's there, and because the fans all buy into it, it's all like no one's going, oh, what a load of crap, Liverpool. They're all going, oh, look at this team, it's amazing, the spirit, it just means more to us, like, doesn't it? Like, yeah, never say die attitude, what a team we are. They're not sitting around going, oh, I'm not going to try and do a Scouse accent, but well, we were so crap for 87 minutes or whatever it was before Endo got the equaliser against Fulham. Like, it's a disgrace. What is the matter with this club? Get Klopp out. It's, look, yeah, this is what it means. The spirit in this team is absolutely unbelievable. And it's the same at Arsenal. And listen, Tottenham are literally, at the moment, glorifying losing. They are making it at the moment where they can't even annoy their fans by not winning a game in 4. Okay, they can't even annoy their fans by that. Go down to 9 men at home to Chelsea. Don't worry about the discipline. Don't ask questions about the discipline. Just look at how naively we threw all of our remaining defenders right up on the halfway line, so the worst striker in the league, Nicholas Jackson, could score a hat-trick. But how brave. It's all about like fan feeling. And I don't often like feel this too passionately, but this just feels like one of those times I could just see it playing out in front of me, where this negative fan feeling builds up and up and up and up and up, and then all right, Moyes goes, right? All of these fans who are bleating on about getting rid of David Moyes, none of them seem to have a solid answer about who they want. I asked someone on Twitter, the rare Twitter exchange I had, he goes, Xabi Alonso. Again, it's pie in the sky stuff. It just comes from the same sort of people who think Pep Guardiola should be managing England instead of Gareth Southgate. Like, be realistic. Pep Guardiola is not going to take the England job. He's too good for it. Xabi Alonso looks like he's going to run Bayern Munich really, really close in the Bundesliga. Coming second in the Bundesliga with anyone other than Bayern Munich is effectively like winning the title anywhere else. So that automatically put him, he'll be then managing a Champions League team next year. Like, screw your heads on. If he's like one of the up-and-coming managers in the world, guy played for Liverpool, Real Madrid, and looks like he might be able to take to management as well, do you think he's going to come to West Ham United? Like, honestly, it is doing my head in. And it's not like we're bad. Last season, I wasn't as sort of passionate about it because I could understand it. The league form was pretty pants. We were only doing well in the Conference League rather than the Europa League. So it was the tertiary competition. We didn't have a tough game in that until the semis pretty much. So I could understand like fans getting aggy about it. But this season, I just think if you carry on and fans end up getting their own way because of this sort of poisonous atmosphere that's building in some sections of the fan base, if that just keeps building and it does result in David Moyes leaving, then what happens? Well, you get Brendan Rodgers if you're lucky. It's just like this weird idea that this alternative to Moyes guarantees us to like improve on where we are. How much better, honestly, can it really get, James? Maybe another couple of places in the league.
Listen, right? I understand.
We're not
what you're
in the
saying.
Champions League. It's doing my head in.
I understand what you're saying. I think that the thought that we can't do better than Moyes. I think any club can do better. Who
genuinely? Who? And if you say Graham Potter, I'm going to throw my laptop out the window.
I'm not putting a suggestion out there. I don't know who the right person is, but I'm absolutely not. Is David Moyes the best manager that we can possibly hope for ever? Like, there is a better alternative out there. I don't know who that alternative is. I'm not employed to make that decision.
So you can't say no, but you can have an opinion. You haven't got an idea, have you?
But I'm not saying that David Moyes should go. I think Moyes should stay in the job for the rest of the season. I think it'd be mental to get rid of him mid-season. Ridiculous, right? Like, we're not going to go down. We're going to have a good European run, probably. We've had a good Carabao Cup run. No point getting rid of him.
Down, we're ninth.
Right, so exactly. So why get rid of him? But what I'm saying, I don't really agree with your argument that, well, you know, if you look at Liverpool fans, they're really happy because they've only just beaten Fulham 4-3 right in the last minute. Yeah, but Liverpool have lost one game all season, and in the 9 games they've won, they've comprehensively beaten most of those teams.
But
Same goes as Arsenal. So when they do have a little bit of a hiccup against a team they should be smashing, the fans are like, "Oh, well, okay, that's absolutely fine," but we still won the game. But when you go 5 games unbeaten, and all 5 of those games you've only just won because of last-minute winners, or you should have won and didn't win because you made a cock up, of course fans are going to be like, "Hang on, what's going on here? Yeah, okay, we're winning games, but why are we only just scraping by?" Why?
But we're not Liverpool or Arsenal.
With the squad that we've got, the money that's been spent on the squad.
Liverpool or Arsenal. Like,
I know, yeah, but you make the argument that it is
the only 2 players that would get into any of those teams. Paqueta and Bowen. Outside of that, none of our players would get into a Liverpool or Arsenal team.
You made the argument that those fans, you won't get those fans moaning after last-minute winners, but that's because they are Liverpool and Arsenal, and that's because they comprehensively beat most teams every week. So when they don't beat someone massively one week and have to rely on a last-minute winner, it's not. It's by the by. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter, we've won. But whereas it happens to West Ham off the back of 3 good seasons, 2 in the league, 1 with a bit of silverware for the first time in a lifetime, and then the next year you reinvest and you bring in some more really good players and you built a really good, strong squad with international footballers across the park, and then you're still only scraping by away at Burnley, who have got the 2nd worst defence in the league. You're still only scraping by at home to Forest 3-2 thanks to a last-minute winner. You go to unknown back to Pola and Serbia and have to rely on an 89th minute winner. You don't beat Palace at home, who didn't attack. They're all winners, but I think the fans are quite rightly not. I think maybe it's gone a little bit too far amongst some areas of the fan base, but I think some fans, including myself, are a bit like, yes, it's great, it's positive, we're winning games. But it should be more convincing. If we're going to win those games, it should be more convincing. It should be.
Why? But we're not Liverpool or Arsenal.
Well,
like,
I know.
I'm
not saying we are, but we are a team that has ambitions of finishing in the top 7 or the top 8. And we can't rely on beating those teams. We can't rely on beating teams in last minute all the time, which is my point, which I made earlier when it came to Palace. You go 1-0 up and you sit back.
I totally agree with you on that, right?
And
I totally agree.
That's the foundation of the argument. Why did we sit back? And it's not the first time we've done it over the last 3 years, particularly over the last 12 to 18 months.
5 weeks, is it?
Like we go 1-0 up, and it's like, lovely, fine, lovely, job done. Let's just don't make a mistake. Oh no, we've made a mistake. It's 1-0. Now we've got to try and score again. And that's why the fans are a bit like, look, this should be more. This shouldn't be an issue. The squad's good. Yes, okay, we're winning games, but we're winning them with a bit of luck in the last minute, or we're having to rely on a last minute
But mate,
cross
you've
from
got to stop
Maxwell
calling it luck.
bloody corner. Well,
no, but you've got to stop calling it luck, because a lot of the goals have been quality. Like Tomas Soucek is playing really well. Like, you can't. They're not just flukes, are they? We're not just lumping balls up in the air and then hitting someone on the arse and going in.
What I mean is that run of last minute winners is going to end. It's going to end. It's going to come to a point in the season.
Well, it did at Palace, didn't it? Yeah.
We get to a point in the season when we're still trying to grind out 1-0 wins, or we're still, not attacking as much as we should do, not being that convincing in the final third. And then those last minute winners are going to dry out. Doesn't matter how many times you throw something at a goal, it's going to stop going in. That's what I mean.
No, I agree.
Ride your luck that way, and I think we've ridden our luck. Things have got to change, because if we go to Fulham at the weekend, go 1-0 up early doors, it won't work. It won't work.
No,
Or if it's 0-0 in the last 5 minutes, we're just going to rely on Tomas Soucek to pop up in the box again. Like, we can't keep doing it, and that's why fans are getting frustrated. That's why.
No, I do.
It's great that we're still ninth. It's great we're in Europe. It's great we're in the Carabao Cup, but that's not going to last if we carry on the way we are. It won't last, and that's my point.
Well, we'll go at the League Cup anyway. Like, we've just been absolutely shafted with the draw yet again. I mean, I don't even know what the maths is, the chance that you get Arsenal and Liverpool. When you're West Ham, I think it's like odds on. But I do accept, I accept that. We're 1 point behind Brighton, who are supposed to be like the best thing since sliced bread. But listen, rather than just talk about the league, so I appreciate it's not as one-dimensional as that. You are definitely right, where the few people I've been describing West Ham to recently, the best way I can sort of describe it is like we've been playing like excuse this rare swear word, but our games are like a shit sandwich, where basically we have a good 15 minutes right at the beginning, we have a good 15 minutes right at the end, and then the hour in the middle, load of rubbish. Like, that's basically what it's been like, isn't it, for the best part of November? And I definitely agree that against teams who, like Palace, like, all right, Nottingham Forest was a good little ding dong, but you don't often see those under Moyes, do you, at West Ham? But I enjoyed the game, whatever, and we come out on top. The Palace one, not great. Everton, poor, really poor performance. And you will never hear me say in any of my recent moanings or in-person conversations with me that, we've been playing really well. You will never hear me say that, because I haven't said that. The last time I think we played well, I do think we did all right against Forest. I thought that was a reasonable performance. But Arsenal in the League Cup was the last time we played well. So I'm not saying we played well. I totally agree that you can't, particularly against bigger teams. We've got Tottenham on Thursday, and I can, I said on this podcast last week, didn't I? I was so certain that Crystal Palace game had 1-1 written all over it, didn't it? It was the most 1-1 game you could ever anticipate. And I know you predicted we were going to win, but it just screamed 1-1 that, and it's played out almost exactly how you thought it was going to happen. Tottenham on Thursday, to be quite honest, you can see that already, because I totally agree with you. You can't play as we have been. And I don't even think it's particularly badly. We just seem to start the game in like fifth gear, fourth or fifth gear, proper out the blocks. And then we either go up early, or we're just like, this is going all right. And then we just chill. We just put it in third gear, put it back in neutral, and just try and cruise for an hour. Like, nothing super bad happens. The odd mistake will creep in, but it's just average. And then maybe the other team score one, or maybe we're still drawing, and then the last 15 minutes, it's like, all right, come on in, bang. And I totally get it. That's not a way to be. Palace were definitely there for the taking at the weekend. I do struggle to find it. I will always struggle to find it negative or to find negatives in away wins, however they come about. But I appreciate that the home form is a little bit concerning. Like in the league, Everton, Forest, and Palace are our last 3 games. Not great. We can't afford to do that against Tottenham, can we?
No, I agree. I think if we're going to flip it slightly from a positive point of view, okay, like we should be better going forward with the caliber of attacking players that we've got.
You can't, mate, without a striker, you can't say that, honestly.
Yeah, but I still think it's a concern. It was similar with Antonio still when he was in the team at times. But the positive side of the way that we play at the moment and the system that Moyes has implemented and his style is that we're always in games. We're not getting battered.
Yeah.
Okay, we lost to Villa a few weeks back, 4-1. But against Tottenham on Thursday night, it'll be David Moyes' 200th game since he come back to the club in all competitions. His 200th game. And I think from the last time I counted, I think only 6 of those 200 games we've lost by 3 or more goals. Which is an incredible statistic when you think about it. When you think about how often we're used to at least 3 or 4 times a season getting absolutely battered by someone. Right? At least 3 or 4 times a season, we're on the arse end of a 5-0 battering by City. Probably Liverpool.
Someone will do us 4-0, won't they? At some stage, you usually expect that.
Yeah, I think it was probably about 10 years ago. It was 4-0 3 weeks in a row. And it was almost like, oh yeah, of course, that doesn't really matter. That happens every year.
We're getting them out the way early.
So it's like, that's the positive side of the way David Moyes likes to set his teams up, and it means that we're always more often than not, we're in a position to get last minute winners. Because we're never getting absolutely battered by a team. We don't get battered by teams anymore. Yeah, we might get, we had Villa, Newcastle last season. Thursday night against Tottenham is a risk because of the way they play. But like, it concerns me a little bit, if I'm honest. I'm a little bit worried about Thursday. But if you get the attacking bit right, I think that's where fans are annoyed. It's that we haven't, if we were throwing everything at the bus, like throwing everything at
the bus.
I don't even know why I said that.
Analogy there, isn't it?
If the teams are parking the bus, throw everything at the bus, but we're not. When you were going, oh well, let's just rely on the fact that
we have a relax for an hour.
Yeah, like we don't get battered, so like chances are we won't concede, and then you do concede. It's we got to score again, and that's why fans are annoyed, mate. And I get it, I do get it, and I think something's got to change because it won't last.
No, it doesn't feel sustainable to keep performing. It's just when we come up against good teams, like we can no longer afford that. I just think, and listen, I think it's sort of baked into a lot of the players' DNA, right? The thing that does get to me is that all of the success that you just listed off then, it was built on this style of football. Like the best seasons we've ever had at West Ham, i.e. the last 3, right? Or that I've ever had at West Ham in my lifetime, i.e. the last 3, were built on like this. They were built on not really getting slapped anymore by big teams, not really like, like you say, always being in games. They were built on us having less possession than the majority of the opposition that we play against. They were built on counter-attacking football. And so I think the frustrating bit for me is hearing, seeing, listening to fans, more so than people outside the club, West Ham fans sort of all of a sudden like had a really small taste of it. Because, 2 seasons going into this one, which is the 3rd, 2 seasons of relative success. And it's now like, right, well, we've done that. So now we click our fingers and now we start playing like Barcelona. And what so many people seem to willingly ignore. And look, I will caveat this with, I used to hate this, hearing this argument when I was shouting for Allardyce to leave, even when we were doing okay. The thing that people seem to so willingly ignore is that if we change a manager, the next manager will automatically maintain every single good thing that David Moyes has done. And then all they'll add is positives and will just improve, and the style of football will get better and will be amazing. Right. And I just think there seems to be some of the views I hear, none of them seem to be tempered with, well, you know what, like it is a risk changing a reasonably solid formula which we've got at the moment, like because we could easily, like, you know, slip back down, or we could easily sort of revert back some of the good things that we don't see, the invisible things that David Moyes does, which we're good at. You could lose a lot of those. And Slaven Bilic is the best example I could use, mate. I loved it at Upton Park. That was probably that last season is probably the last time all of these fans who are desperate for more, whatever more looks like to them, but like an attacking style of play, free flow and whatever, that was fine. But it just fell to pieces, didn't it? At the first real challenge, Payet goes, and then signings were bad. The recruitment under David Moyes is excellent, other than up front. Excellent, the best I've ever seen. And I just think, you know, you find a modern day version of Slaven Bilic or whoever it might be that fans want. And again, no one seems to have an idea, a realistic one, of who they want and who we can get. And it's just pie in the sky stuff. And I just think, well, if those people get what they want, the risk so far outweighs the potential reward in my eyes, and it's really, really, really grating on me.
I think that's true in the sense that if you were to get rid of David Moyes mid-season, then, like I alluded to earlier on, like it's a mental decision, because you get a manager that comes in who plays attacking football. Attacking football doesn't happen overnight with a squad of players. It's got to be coached. And you can't coach a team to play an attacking style of football when they're so used to the style they're currently playing, right, mid-season, and expect to get immediate results. It would be crazy. It would be crazy. You'd only make that change if there was serious jeopardy on the line, and there isn't, right? So like, it's not a decision to be made mid-season. If you're going to make that decision, then it has to be in the summer. And you've got to give someone a pre-season. You give him a transfer window to really bring in the players he wants that suits his start to play. And I genuinely think that they will make that change in the summer. I think Tim Steichen's come in and he's already looking at alternatives. Like I said earlier, I don't know what that alternative looks like. I genuinely don't know. There's no one. I've said Graham Potter in the past, and I don't think it's a bad shout, if I'm honest. But I'm not saying he's definitely the one to come in and take over. But I think Tim Steichen is he's drawing up a shortlist as we speak, going, these are the managers that we should be focusing on in the summer, not before.
Yeah.
It can't be before. It cannot be before.
No.
It'd be a nightmare. It'd be an absolute. It'd be suicide if they did it before, purely on those reasons. You have to coach an attacking style of football. And it doesn't even happen overnight. Then it needs a couple of years to really come to fruition and really work. And to say that there's no one out there that's better than David Moyes, I think is wrong. You can improve on David Moyes, and I'm sure the club will.
No one knows.
I'm sure the club will. Yeah, but no one knew who it was at Brighton. Who's going to replace Graham Potter? No, there's no one better than Graham Potter. Bring in
the club did. The club have got a proven track record of running a good football club.
Well, I mean, that's the other concern is that. But then we had the concern: will they reinvest the Declan Rice money well? No one trusted the club to reinvest that money well, and they did. So
but the recruitment's been good.
Yeah, but people didn't expect that money to be reinvested the way that it was done. I think a lot of fans are worried that money was going to go up the wall, and they did. They did well. They did well.
Everyone's starting from a negative all the time.
But they did. They did well. They did well. But that's it.
Mindset.
That's it. So what you're saying is that the club won't go out and get a better manager. Like the club will. I think that's why Tim Steichen's in there first and foremost, is to be the guy that brings in that new manager, to identify who that manager is, and to develop that philosophy. Bring in a manager that can implement that philosophy, and I think that's what he's doing. And I think that to say that yes, it's a risk. It's always a risk changing managers, of course it is. But I think I don't subscribe to the opinion that it's as good as we're ever going to get it under David Moyes. I definitely think we can improve with a different manager, whether it's the next manager or the manager after that. I certainly think we will improve under him. I think David Moyes will always be the guy that ended our trophy drought. He'll be known as the guy that laid the foundations for the next guy to go on and take the club even further, or the next guy after that, because that's what he's doing at the moment. He's laid the foundations for us to push on. And I think a lot of fans are going, yes, and they accept that. And thanks very much, Dave. You're a hero. But I think fans go, he's not the man to build up from those foundations. He can lay them. But can he take us forward and build on those foundations? And I think fans are beginning to think, no.
The idea, though, that the only direction it can go post David Moyes is up is
that's not
ridiculous.
True. That's why I said it's a risk. It's always a risk. But I think now you've got someone like
Tim as an example there, haven't you?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of.
But you have to use like Ronald De Boer or like, you know. I mean Andre Raiola or the geezer at Bournemouth, like these other rogue European picks that directors of football pick, and then it's oh, that was a disaster.
Yeah, like there are plenty of. Brentford have done the same with Thomas Frank.
Come from within, but
yeah, and we'll do the same when Thomas Frank goes. So that's okay. That's only 2 examples.
But again, a football club with a proven track record of running their club properly. You're not comparing like with like. This is West Ham you're talking about.
Okay, all right. Let's flip it. Newcastle United. When people brought in
apples with pears.
When people brought in Eddie Howe, everyone went, I don't know about that. Look what he's done there.
But people thought he was a good manager at Bournemouth. Like, he was always punching above his weight at Bournemouth, playing good football. Pep Guardiola was always praising him after they'd spanked him 7-0 because he tried to play football against them.
I just don't think that.
No one's got an answer for who they want instead of Moyes.
Well, basically. No, and I don't think so. That's fine if you don't. It's fine if you don't really know who the next manager should be, because at the end of the day, the fans aren't the ones making the decision. The fans
feels like they are.
No, the fans can have an opinion, and they're well within their rights to have an opinion. They're the ones paying their money each and every week. But it's okay not to have an opinion on who should be the next one. You can have an opinion and go, look, I think we should probably make a change at the end of the season. But when asked, well, who should it be then? If they don't have an answer, you can't then disregard their opinion that a change should be made. Like, you can still have that opinion. Like,
yeah.
It's like saying to someone, what's your favourite film of all time? And then they say it, and then you go, well, it's not though, is it? What is like? And then they go, well, I don't really know because that's the only film I've watched. And then they're like, well, you're wrong then. And it's like,
that's literally that makes zero sense.
I don't care whether it makes zero sense, because I think it makes zero sense that there's a belief that you have. I think that David Moyes, there's no improvement on David Moyes. That's our max now. That. We've got. Well, that's what you're alluding to, because you're saying if we make a change, it's all going to go tits up.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the anyone who talks about it, and you've sort of done a bit of it there, just assumes the only side of it they'll tell you is how much better it's going to get. There's no acknowledgement or nod to the fact that it could get so much worse, and that's, I think, the thing, right? I'll give you a better analogy. A better analogy would have been, I've decided I'm going to get rid of my car, but I don't know what one I'm going to buy yet. All right, that's a reasonable analogy.
That is better. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So, if you're in that position, right? You say I think it's time to make a change at the end of the season. I would find it far easier to buy into and get on board with that thought process and that statement if, and we'll throw it back to the car analogy again, right? If you'd said, mate, I'm going to get a new car, I don't know what I'm going to buy yet, but I know that in a few months' time, I'm going to get rid of my car. If I knew that your car, like, the exhaust was falling off, the wheels kept buckling, the suspension didn't really work properly, and the gearbox was a bit iffy, I'd go, yeah, fair enough, mate, fair enough. But if it was like a 3-year-old 3 Series BMW and just like had a couple of nicks in the paintwork, but all in all, it was a pretty good car that had served you well and was built properly and like, you know, given you some good times, and just because it's not like brand new and shiny anymore, I'd be like, well, Jonesy, don't be hasty. Like, well, you know, how much better can you really get than your 3-year-old 3 Series BMW there? Like, you know, there's no guarantee that whatever you opt for next is going to be that much better, and then you might really regret getting rid of your car. Like, David Moyes is not this like complete old banger that people seem to be making him out to be at the moment. That's why I would find it so much easier to buy into. I think we need to make a change at the end of the season. If our Premier League form was the same as it was last year and we were 13th or 14th, if we weren't set to win our Europa League group and get through to the last 16 of the Europa League, and if we weren't through to the next round of the League Cup and going to probably, almost certainly get through to the fourth round of the FA Cup, like that's why I would find it so much easier. I just don't understand how people are so flippantly, it appears, willing to toss off the best and like objectively best. This is not an opinion. The objectively best manager we've had in the modern era for sustained success. Like, I don't understand how people are so willing to just go, don't worry about it, because we didn't beat Burnley away or Nottingham Forest or Crystal Palace at home as convincingly as they would like. And just it's like, but well, we'll get rid of him, get rid of the best manager we've had since I've been alive, because it can only get better. Like, there's no way whatsoever that the season after we get rid of Moyes could be worse. Like, there's no way we could ever crash out of Europe and still be just as average and don't get very far in the domestic cups and then finish bottom half. There's no way that could happen. It's like, yeah, there is. Everyone, yes, there is. Like, have you ever supported West Ham before David Moyes? Right? Have you ever supported David Moyes? The only people I can just about accept it from, right, is if you started going to West Ham the first season David Moyes came back, right? Or the Jesse Lingard year. If that's your first season of supporting West Ham and you're going, I want Moyes out, it can only get better, I go, fair enough, because you didn't know it before. But anyone else who's not, it don't even have to be as old as me, I'm only 32, like, basically anyone who knew West Ham pre-David Moyes 2.0, like, knows how rubbish it has been for the most of our existence. And I just find it really difficult to hear people so flippantly go, just get rid of him because it's only going to go one way after that. It's ridiculous.
I don't think people are 100% expecting it to only go one way. I don't think. I mean, there might be some.
You're risking so much.
You are. But there might be some fans out there that are deluded enough to believe that. I definitely don't. There is always a risk of changing any manager at any point. But I think that's what's going to happen in the summer. I think he's going to go. But to be fair, I said that last year. So what do I know? I don't know.
When we win the Europa League and get in the Champions League, what are you going to do? Because again, this season, right, with the old European coefficient, England could get 5 Champions League places, couldn't they, this season?
Goes down to top eight.
That's it. Yeah. So there's every chance. Like, if we win the Europa League, get in the Champions League for the first time ever, and then it's going to be, get rid. Honestly, it's just like, I feel like I'm the only one excited, and I think this is what's the hard bit for me. I feel like I'm the only one excited for the second half of the season. Like, we're already chatting at work, and I'm already having a look at the calendar, like looking at when I've literally booked my summer holiday. I booked the annual leave off yesterday, and I deliberately booked it the week after the Europa League final. And I'm already looking like, if we get, I really hope we win the group. And then, because I feel like we go far in the competition again, I'm already sort of thinking about, okay, that's when the last 16 ties are going to be. That's that Thursday. Oh, yeah, all right. Well, maybe I won't organise anything for that weekend. And I'm flipping buzzing for the second half of the season. I'm desperate for us to sign a striker. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not.
Mate.
But I'm like,
listen,
I can't wait for the rest of the season, and I feel like I'm the only one. I'm on my own.
No, you can still be excited for the second half of the season, but then also still feel like a change needs to be made in the dugout. Like, I'm excited for the second half of the season. Like, genuinely, I love this time. I love this, the Christmas period. I love going to the second half of the season, particularly if we're doing well, which we are. But I still think that change probably needs to be made. And unless we win the Europa League or finish in the top 8, then that will be my opinion of between now and May, I think. And let's have it right. Like, yeah, but there's a chance anyway. There's a chance I could walk across the road to tomorrow and get run over. Like, there's a chance for everything.
Well, fingers crossed you don't. But
yeah, but like to have that mentality, go, oh yeah, there's a chance it could go wrong.
No, but a very good chance that it could happen. That we could all those things you've said could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to finish 8th.
We need to implement a growth mindset, mate. And
put your self-help books down.
Yeah, and I think potentially as a result of that growth mindset, we probably need to make a change. And it's fine if we do. I will always love David Moyes for what he's given us over the last 3 years, mate. No.
You sound like Jake Humphrey.
I will always love David Moyes. I'll love him to the day I die for what he's given us, the memories he's given us, the success he's given us over the last 3 years. I will never forget that night in Lyon. I will never forget those 4 days in Prague until the day I die. Right? Memories that I never thought I would ever experience being a fan of West Ham United. Like, it was off the radar for me, and he's given us that. I will love him forever for that.
Didn't beat Burnley by the 75th minute away, so stuff him.
Well, I mean, that's certainly tainted his reputation in my eyes. But no, joking. But I just think it's not going to last forever. And there are some signs over the last 4 or 5 games, or even beyond that, that it's definitely not going to last forever. And unless things change between now and May, I think a change will be made. Who that is, we've already covered that. I don't know, and at the moment, I don't really care. I just want to enjoy the second half of the season, and then see what happens.
Sound like you do. I'm the only West Ham fan in the world who wants to enjoy the rest of the season. I've come to that conclusion.
But will you enjoy it? Will you enjoy it if we're having to rely on last minute winners, or we're making mistakes all the time? We're not winning games that we should do.
Well, and we finish 8th or get to the Europa League semi-final.
This goes back to what we were saying earlier. Like, I think we've ridden our luck, the luck that we've got this season with the last 5 games.
That's not the question.
Well, will you enjoy it when that luck runs out and we're not getting last minute winners and we're drawing at home we're drawing away at Sheffield United in February?
But that's not guaranteed. If
because
we get
it's like, oh no, we've gone 1-0. We got 1-0 up in the first minute against Sheffield United, who've conceded about 900 goals already this season. 1-0 up early, and then Dave Moyes goes, boys, that's enough. Put the brakes on now. And then Sheffield United get 2 late goals and win their first game in about 4 years.
Well, they're getting last minute winners now.
Yeah, they're getting and it's like, if this had happened in November, we would have got the last minute winner. But instead, our luck's run out, and now Sheffield United are getting a last minute winner. It's all going to pot, boys. What's happening? Are you going to be happy then? Are you going to be excited then? Are you going to be excited about the next game?
I will be delighted if we get through if we get a last minute winner at Anfield, right, and get through to the semi-final of the League Cup. You'll be going, nah, not cheering, not celebrating. Not celebrating.
No, that's not it.
No, the 75th minute.
Because we're not expected to beat. We're not expected to beat Liverpool, are we? But if you score one last minute winner at Anfield in your West Ham, that's a great result because you expected to go there and get. Right, yeah, it is all right then because you're supposed to go to Anfield and get battered 6-0. Fulham took liberties at the weekend by going ahead. Not had to do that at Anfield. Not had to do that at the Etihad.
Liverpool, because the goals they got to win the game were right at the end. Oh, rubbish. I hate
I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Like, last minute winners when you're not supposed to win the game are fine. When you are supposed to win the game.
God, what a bleak existence.
A one-off. Yeah, brilliant. That's always great scoring in the last minute. But when you do it in three games consecutively against teams that you should, like quite rightly, should be beating quite comfortably, that's when it's a bit like, what's going on? Like, what's going on?
What a bleak existence.
Sort it out, mate. It's not a bleak existence. Just got a growth mindset, mate.
No, all right, Jake. Humphrey. You think that West Ham should beat? I reckon. Given that you think, where do you think West Ham should finish? Right, you big old word should. Where do you think we should finish? Top 8, right? 8. That means that you think West Ham should beat the 13 teams, 12 teams below us. That means you think West Ham should win 24 of their Premier League games every season, right? So that means West Ham could win 24 games in a season. You wouldn't enjoy a single one of them. So should
I would enjoy them, but
them.
I would be concerned if they all came by last-minute winners, or the vast majority of them did. Just asking for a little bit.
Should beat them. No, not celebrating.
Asking for a little bit of conviction, mate.
Here's well, wonder what you think of this stuff. By the way, love this week's podcast format, James.
Brilliant.
This is a 59-minute intro, by the way.
Yep.
I don't think we're going to bother going into detailed analysis on the Bacca Topola game or the Palace game, because they're both pretty pants. That could be the analysis. Pants games, half decent goals, mistake from Mavropanos cost us. But here's one for you, Jamesy, before we do wrap this up and let the people listen to Dean Scoggins ahead of Thursday night's game at Tottenham. Some tough games to come over the Christmas period, but we're currently on 1.5 points per match, the joint third highest for West Ham in the Premier League era. That's alongside excellent form in the Cups. Feels mad given the atmosphere around the place. So the joint third highest best points total in the 31 years since the Premier League was formed. Thoughts? Don't care about points. Don't like points.
No, it's a good start. No, it's a good start. I've not said it isn't a good start. It was our best start to a Premier League season ever, I think.
Rubbish.
But you can't deny the fact that the last few league games have been pretty boring.
It could have been our even more best start.
No, well, it could have been. That's the thing. It could have been, and it should have been.
If we had a manager that I don't know who it would be, if we had an unnamed manager who's definitely better than David Moyes.
I'm not calling for Moyes to be sacked. I'm not. Don't put words in my mouth. I don't want him to be sacked, but I just don't think his contract should be extended.
No, right. Well, fair enough. We'll discuss that. It's definitely another conversation for another time. Right.